Dawgs podcast with your hosts, Blake Riniker, Justin Charles, John Nye, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs podcast presented by Omaha Steaks. I'm stealing this one from somebody on YouTube. I am Josh All alone today, and if you can't tell, my voice is just a little bit on the scratchy side. After being at the game on Sunday and screaming, yelling my head off the entire game, and then doing our live episode last night, recapping the absolute smackdown of the Cincinnati Bengals, my voice is a little bit shot. So we're going to keep this quick. We're going to keep this brief. Well, at least I tend to say that, but then I ramble. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here today. But I want to dive into the numbers, the statistics from the Browns-Bengals game, and look ahead at what we might be able to expect in certain areas in the Pittsburgh Steelers game. We will still be doing our Steelers preview later this week, probably Friday or Saturday ahead of the Monday night game. But this is just something different I wanted to try this season. I wanted to look at the PFF numbers. I wanted to look at the in-depth statistical analysis, and no, we're not going to be talking about just the PFF grades. As a matter of fact, we might not even be talking about PFF grades at all. And if you're not familiar with PFF, that's Pro Football Focus. And, they really do a nice job of providing some in-depth statistical analysis, breakdowns of certain things that you're not going to find in any old box score from ESPN or Bleacher Report or anything like that. So the PFF grades, every player, every week, every season, whatever, in different categories of the game, gets a PFF grade. They give each player a number in whatever area it is we're looking at. And for those of you not familiar, the grades are a little bit open to interpretation. A lot of people are usually skeptical of the grades. Sometimes they're not very well explained. So I'd be shocked if I actually list off any specific grades, but what I really want to do is look at the stats that go along with each player in each category. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about has been getting a little bit of buzz generated on Twitter and in our YouTube comments, so I just wanted to address it up front, first of all. So I'm going to be looking over here as I do this because that's where my screen is with all my numbers. DeJuan Jones is now going to be filling in at right tackle for the season-ending injury to Jack Conklin that we saw on Sunday, and we'll rehash this again. Yes, it was a bad blocking attempt by Jed Wills on the other side of the line. He was getting bull rushed by Trey Hendrickson. Took Jed Wills all the way across the line, back behind Deshaun Watson, and unfortunately into the side of Jack Conklin's knee and ended his season. So let's look at DeJuan Jones. So in terms of pass blocking efficiency for DeJuan Jones played on 20 pass blocking snaps. Okay, so there's a stat here on PFF. It's called OPP, allowed pressure opportunities. Those are non-spike, non-penalty snaps when participating as a pass blocker. So opportunities when pressure was being applied by the defense. So in 20 such situations, DeJuan Jones gave up 0 pressures. So pressures include hurries on the quarterback, hits on the quarterback, and of course sacks. DeJuan Jones, 0 of those. He had a 100% pass blocking efficiency, as did Jack Conklin, obviously, before he went out, as did Joel Bitonio, as did Wyatt Teller. So who's left on our offensive line that I haven't named yet? Well, Ethan Posick, the center, he had 35 of those OPPs, those pass blocking, what was it called again? Allowed pressure opportunities. So when the defense is bringing pressure, he had 35 of those. And he gave up 3 pressures, 3 hurries. No hits on the quarterback, no sacks. So overall, Ethan Posick, not bad. It wasn't a bad day, especially the way he was getting rushed up the middle to only give up the 3 pressures, and they were just the hurries, nothing touching Deshaun Watson that way. But then we go to the last guy that we haven't mentioned yet, and that would be left tackle Jed Wills. And yes, we've talked about Jed Wills a lot this offseason, and his poor play And I hate saying poor play because honestly, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, Jed Wills he's better than a lot of left tackles in the NFL. He just is. We're not happy with him because, one, we got spoiled with Joe Thomas for so long. Two, we were really expecting this guy to come in as a 10th overall pick in the draft and just be an absolute mauler on that offensive line for us. But he just has not lived up to that billing. But on 35 of these opportunities in the game, Jed Wills was the weak link. He gave up 4 pressures, which again, that's just one more than Posick, but it was 2 hurries, 1 hit on Watson, and 1 sack. So the only sack given up by our offensive lineman came from Jed Wills. Diving back into Dawand Jones, here's where I might just go ahead and mention a little bit of these specific PFF scores, because on the pass blocking, let me see here, pass blocking, Dawand Jones was given a 77.8 pass blocking grade as a right tackle. Now, just to give you a little bit of comparison, right guard Wyatt Teller was an 88.2 grade. So Dawand Jones a little bit less than that, but still, in terms of all this, Jed Wills was the worst at 58.1. Like I said before, I really don't want to dive into these numbers. I hate the grades, but that's just to give you an idea if you're not familiar with PFF and their grading system. So again, Dawand Jones, 77.8 pass blocking grade. So let's go look at the run blocking. This is where a lot of people are asking questions about Dawand Jones as our long-term solution, at least for this season at right tackle. His run blocking grade, 38.4. Again, the only one worse, Jed Wills, 36.6. Jack Conklin, before he went out, was at a 71.7. Joel Bitonio, right guard, 67.9. Okay, so what could have caused Dawand Jones to be at such a low run blocking grade? Because there are no statistics in PFF to justify grading run blocking. There really isn't. It's number of snaps, it's zone snaps, gap run snaps. What in the world causes these grades to either be high or low? You can't sack a running back, but you can get a guy hit in the backfield. So that would lead to a bad grade, I would imagine. So what I looked at to try to figure this out was PFF has a category called rushing direction. So if you go and you look at rushing direction, the Browns ran the ball to the right side, to Dawand Jones' side, to the right tackle, right end area of the line, just 7 times in the game. Now, to put that in context, they had 41 rushing attempts in the game. So just 7 of those 41 went to that right tackle, right end side, and it was just for 7 yards. So 1 yard a carry. So I'm wondering if that didn't factor into the poor run blocking grade for Dawand Jones, because if you look in comparison, runs to the left side, left tackle, left end, where on the right side it was 7 for 7 yards, 15 for 125 yards, and a touchdown on the other side. So that might have had something to do with it. And this is something that, based on your guys' feedback, obviously, I'm not going to keep doing statistical shows and breakdowns like this. If you guys aren't interested in it, I'm a stats guy. I love statistics and probability. It's why I'm so big into fantasy football. I love stats. I love looking at what are the trends, what are the stats, what can we predict from those stats. Just like I was given the stats last week about Joe Burrow's never beaten the Browns when he sacked more than once in a game. Well, we got 2 sacks on him this game. Nick Chubb averages 100 yards and 5.9 yards a carry at home against the Bengals. What did he rush for? 106 yards and 5.9 a carry. So, and those are just obviously some examples, and not all stats are, hold up all the time. But it is fun to look at. So if you guys like these more statistical breakdown scenarios and all this kind of stuff, let me know. Let me know that you're enjoying it, and I'll just keep doing it. And we will learn a lot of things throughout the season together as I go through this, because again, this run blocking situation, how they're evaluating the offensive linemen, that's something that we'll continue to uncover as the season unfolds. And real quick before we move on, Ohio Caesar Sportsbook is kicking off this NFL season with a new bet $50. Get $250 in bonus bets. Limited time offer. For new users, you can sign up with our code DAWGSGET. That's DAWGSGET, all one word. Redeem $250 in bonus bets after placing your first wager of $50 on any NFL game. Even if your first bet loses, you will receive one $50 bonus bet credit each week over the next 5 weeks. So make sure you enter our code DAWGSGET, DAWGSGET, when signing up to have a bet on Caesars every week for the start of the NFL season. That's code DAWGSGET. This offer is only available for new customers who are 21 years and older and physically present in Ohio. Please gamble responsibly. If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer to see if you can qualify. So let's look at how bad the Bengals just absolutely sucked as far as their receivers go. So Denzel Ward, the Browns' top cornerback, we were worried about him with that concussion coming out of the final preseason game, but he got cleared ahead of this one, and thank goodness he did. Jamar Chase, the mouth runner, elf hater that he is, against Denzel Ward was targeted 3 times, caught just 1 pass for 4 yards. Joe Mixon, the running back, which, back out of the backfield, whatever, targeted once, caught 1 for 10 yards. Tyler Boyd, 1 target, 1 catch, 4 yards. And T. Higgins, and that'll be a theme for all of our DBs here, T. Higgins was targeted 8 total times in the game, didn't catch a pass. So Grant Delpit against the big guys. Jamar Chase was not targeted against Grant Delpit. Against Tyler Boyd, he allowed just 1 catch on 1 target for 6 yards. That's it. Grant Delpit was an absolute machine in this game. Martin Emerson, I'll tell you what, it's awesome in the stadium. They put up the big graphics of Martin Emerson on the island. It says Emerson Island. It's legit. Martin Emerson is the real deal. What a steal for a 3rd-round pick. Andrew Berry, I love Andrew Berry. But anyway, Jamar Chase against Martin Emerson. 2 targets, no catches, no yards. T. Higgins, of course, 3 targets, no catches, no yards. Irv Smith Jr., the tight end, 1 target, 1 catch, 6 yards. So Martin Emerson on the day gave up a total of 6 yards. How about Greg Newsome? Jamar Chase against Greg Newsome, 2 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards. And that was it. Tyler Boyd, 1 target, no catches, no yards. And no one else was targeted against Greg Newsome. Rodney McLeod against Jamar Chase, just 1 catch on 1 target for 7 yards. And that was pretty much it. I'm telling you, our defense locked them down. JOK gave up 1 catch to Jamar Chase for 10 yards. By the end of that game, and maybe that's a stat I'll look at here, Joe Burrow's average depth of target at the end of the game had to be 1. He was catching the snap, the shotgun snap, and as soon as he got it, I don't even think he was finding the laces. He wasn't setting his feet. It was get the ball out to my guys out wide as quickly as possible and hope to God they can break something because they couldn't push the ball down the field. He had no time to set up in the pocket, no time for receivers to run the routes or get open. And this is the type of defense that we have been longing to see. This is the type of defensive mindset that works in the NFL so well for so many other teams that we watch and say, man, I wish the Browns could do that. Get pressure up front. Make it tough for the receivers to have any time to create separation or run their routes. And then if they do try to push the ball downfield, force them into bad throws where our DBs are sitting there ready to make a play. It was awesome. This episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Fall grilling is in full swing, and the grilling experts at Omaha Steaks are helping you keep the fires lit by putting some sizzle into your September. Head over right now to omahasteaks.com and type code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S, into the search bar, and you will get 50% off all steaks. That's right, they're turning September into Steak-tember with mouth-watering deals on all your favorite tender, juicy, extra-aged steaks. And as an added bonus, you also get 2 free 10-ounce bone-in New York strips with select packages, like the Guaranteed Perfection Grill Pack. This package is the perfect sampling of everything that makes Omaha Steaks unforgettable. The Guaranteed Perfection Grill Pack includes 4 butcher's cut filet mignons, 4 boneless pork chops, 4 air-chilled boneless chicken breasts, 4 pure ground filet mignon burgers, their Omaha Steak seasoning, and of course, like I said, with our promo code DAWGS in the search bar, you get 2 free 10-ounce bone-in New York strip steaks with your order. Football season is back, Browns fans. That means you're tailgating. That means you're cooking out. You're getting together. And now is the perfect time to grab some extra meat for your cookouts because all of the mouth-watering steaks at Omaha Steaks, 50% off during the Steak-tember sale event. So again, head to omahasteaks.com right now, enter code DAWGS in the search bar, get all the exclusive steak timber packages, and get those 2 free 10-ounce bone-in New York strips when you order. Make sure you order today. This exclusive offer is only available for a limited time. Stay fired up for fall grilling with 50% off all steaks during the Steak Timber Sales event. That's omahasteaks.com, keyword DAWGS. So sticking with the defense, I mean, what a show they put on. They generated 17 pressures on 34 Bengals dropbacks, and that would be 33 for Joe Burrow, 1 for Jake Browning, because like we said, coming into the game, we didn't feel like Joe Burrow was going to be able to finish this game. And it wasn't because of injuries, just because they had to flat out bench him because they had no chance of winning, no sense in keeping him in there to let him get hurt. Jake Browning comes in, has a drop back, and gets hit on that one. So 17 pressures on 34 dropbacks. We're pressuring them half the time. How are you supposed to make plays as a quarterback in the NFL when half of the time that you drop back to pass, there's pressure in your face and you got to get rid of it before you're ready to get rid of it? Speaking of Joe Burrow, and this is just a fun, stupid one, but if you Joe Burrow signed a 5-year, $275 million contract. That was on Sunday $335,365 a yard for the 82 yards that Joe Burrow was able to muster against the Browns defense. And then I think finally here, like I said, my voice, it's just going to drop out. It's going to bottom out here real soon. You guys are probably getting tired of listening to it anyway. So let's just talk about Deshaun Watson, the Browns quarterback, to wrap this thing up. So in terms of passing pressure, when Deshaun Watson was kept clean, he completed 13 of 21 passes on 22 dropbacks for 119 yards, a touchdown, no picks. Again, the one interception he did throw in this game, which I won't talk about anymore after this. He did throw one, but it was tipped whenever he threw it. So, those kinds of things happen. It's kind of like Patrick Mahomes throwing an interception right through the arms of his receiver into the arms of the defender. It's not really on Patrick Mahomes when the ball should have been caught. So we won't worry about that right now. So when Deshaun Watson was under pressure, he completed just 3 of 8 for just 35 yards. And that was when the interception took place. So overall, Deshaun Watson was kept clean on 62.9, so 63% of his dropbacks. He was under pressure 37% of his dropbacks. Not bad when you consider that Joe Burrow was under pressure 50% of his dropbacks. And this is the one that I really like, that is really interesting when I was looking at it. So when the Browns ran play action pass, they ran play action on 16 dropbacks. Deshaun Watson threw the ball 14 times, completed 10 of those. So he was 10 of 14 for 71.4% completion, 117 yards, and his touchdown. He had an 8.4 yards per average, and he had 11.1 ADOT. He had an adjusted completion percentage of 84.6, so almost 85% adjusted completion percent. And that's another one that I talk about a lot, and I'm sure you guys understand that if you've watched the show before. Adjusted completion percentage is just how PFF tracks the completion percentage that a quarterback is expected to have had, and it takes away spiked balls, it takes away throwaways, it takes away drop passes, and all kinds of other things in a game that aren't the quarterback's fault for an incompletion. So, like I said, adjusted completion percentage on play action, almost 85%. Whenever he did not run play action, he was just 6 of 15 for only 37 yards. His adjusted completion percentage was 54%. His actual completion was 40. So you're seeing a huge drop-off. And this, of course, was the first game. It's really, really hard to evaluate this game because the weather was so awful. It affected everything from every aspect of the game, running, passing, but passing really, really was impacted heavily by the rain. So I want to see how this continues. I want to see how the play action versus the no play action plays out the rest of this season with Deshaun Watson, because if this is the case, then we're going to continue to see a lot of play action plays from the Browns, because Deshaun Watson is highly efficient with play action. The no play action is a little concerning, but at the same time, like I said, the weather was just gross. So we'll see. We will see how this continues to go. Just a couple other things with Watson on his depth of passing, on his deep passes, which is 20-plus yards. He completed just one of those, which is okay because Joe Burrow didn't have any. He completed 3 deep passes, completed 1. On his medium, 10 to 19, he completed 3 of 8 for 43 yards. And on the short passes, which is anywhere from 0 to 9 yards, he was 10 of 13 for 70 yards. So, again, really, really crappy weather game. Almost 50% of the passes were short. So, Kevin, just like with Joe Burrow on the other side, had to keep, the passes quick, had to get them out. But Deshaun Watson, much more effective than Joe Burrow was. And the Browns defense obviously made such a huge impact in this game. So that's it for the statistical breakdown for the Browns Week 1 victory over the Bengals. If you guys have other stats, other performances, other positions, things you guys want to hear broken down in the future, just let me know. We will look into that. We'll keep doing these as long as you guys are enjoying them. And if you're not, just say, hey, stats suck. We don't want to hear about it. And we won't do it. But until we hear that, and if you guys do love it, just let us know. Say, hey, keep it coming. Keep with the stats, and we'll keep it going. One stat that I did look at today that pertains to the upcoming Steelers game on Monday night next week is that Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith each generated 6 pressures on Joe Burrow in this game. And Steelers left tackle Dan Moore in the Week 1 blowout loss to the 49ers. He sacrificed 9 pressures on his own, 6 hurries, 2 quarterback hits, and 1 sack to that 49ers defense. So that's definitely the weak link of the Steelers offensive line. And one awesome thing to keep in mind going into that Steelers game is their weak unit for the last couple years has been that offensive line. And yes, they made a couple upgrades. They drafted a guy, Broderick Jones, who you might actually see start over this Dan Moore, but it doesn't really matter. The Steelers' offensive line is their weak unit, just like the Bengals' offensive line was their weak unit, and you saw how that turned out. So Kenny Pickett could be in trouble, and we will preview all of that for you guys here in the next couple days when we talk about the Browns going to Pittsburgh on Monday night to take on the Steelers and hopefully kick off this season 2-0, 2-0 in the league and 2-0 in the division, taking down the Bengals and the Steelers and getting ready to dominate the Titans and then stick it to Lamar and the Ravens. Let's freaking go, Browns. Everybody, we love you guys. Make sure you guys are checking us out on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I should have said all this at the top of the video, but I just get too excited about stats. What do you want me to do? So until we talk to you guys again next time, let's go, Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.